All right, everybody, welcome to Brighter. So today, let's take a quick look at who are the competitors to Tesla's full self-driving technology. While we've seen Tesla make a significant leap with their FSD version 12, which is end-to-end all neural net system, let's take a look at two other competitors. First, we're going to watch videos of several generative AI model that is able to replicate the world, much like Tesla is able to do using videos to create a simulation, and more importantly, a real-world model. And then also we're going to look at Chinese automakers using their LiDAR systems and how they're doing in their test of autonomy as well. So today we have Nicholas Gibbs with us. To be clear, neither Nicholas or I, we're not experts in this space. The goal for today is just really to introduce these two new concepts, and they're pretty important. So it's good to just understand who they are. I'll be interviewing some real smart folks who really understands this, and we'll break it down with them later. Thank you, Nicholas. Welcome to join.
Yeah, thank you, Herbert.
Awesome. So Nicholas has his own YouTube channel called Investing Against the Grain, and just love having him on the channel. Thank you so much. So this is something that Bradford Ferguson kind of shared recently, talking about these Chinese automakers that are out there, showing that they have the ability to do robotaxi. And he says, if you want to be aware of the potential risk to your Tesla investment, it would be a good idea to watch this with the auto-translated captions on. It shows reviewers who put various Chinese level 2 and level 4 systems through the tests in China. So let me just play a little bit of a clip here because it's in Chinese. But basically, they're testing out these 5 different companies and different kinds of cars. They're going to test them out in robotaxi kind of format. And you can see that, they all have the LiDAR. So you can have these massive LiDAR systems on the top, and they're just driving around the cities. And of course, they did very, very well. So it can navigate, it can drive through like that. You can see. Take a look here. I'm just going to show little pieces of it just so you can see this. Yeah, it's got the visualization. Looks very similar. They're all boxes though. Okay, that's it. So let me just pause there. And did you take a look at that video quickly? And then what's your reaction to all this?
Yeah, so first of all, why do companies continue to use LiDAR, right? I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit backstage. A lot of LiDAR companies are already going bankrupt, but you still see a persistent use of LiDAR. And even with that video, you'll see that there's a lot of talk and approaches of using or trying to mimic the way Tesla goes about things, where they get real world data and then they also try to layer in some type of simulation into that. And that is essentially creating synthetic data at a certain point. But I'm of the opinion, and like you said earlier, I'm not an expert in this. I'm just I am technical by nature, but not in this space. But I am a everyday user of Tesla's FSD beta 11.4.7.2, hardware 4, by the way. I use it every single day. It does 99% of my drives. The only time I disengage is to pull into my gate for where I live. And if I pull into a parking lot, because sometimes the GPS point isn't into the parking lot. It's the only time I ever take over. But the reason that I think everybody's still using LiDAR and everybody's trying to find some workaround with synthetic data one way or another is because they are trying to solve a problem that Tesla doesn't have. What's that problem? The problem is that they have no mechanism, no flywheel way of getting vast amounts of data. And so when that happens, you have to find your crutches. Right. And so that crutch could be synthetic data. That crutch can be layering on more sensors, whether it's the ultrasonic sensors that Tesla removed, whether it's LiDAR, whether it's having more cameras, radar, right? They're layering it with all of these sensors, all this hardware to try and compensate for a software problem. At this point, it's baffling that people aren't just partnering with a OEM of some sort. In China, it could be BYD. Here in the States, it could be Toyota, Ford, GM. But saying, hey, we will outfit your car with the hardware needed just to collect the data. Because it really seems like one way or another, that's going to be the path that you have to go down. Because at the end of the day, it has to be high fidelity data that's high signal, low noise. Yet all the approaches that are going on right now, it's high noise with a lot of different sensors, and a lot of the data they have from the cameras that they're training on will be synthetic or fake data. And so the problem you run into is that you can simulate things and teach a car how to do certain things, but there's no teaching for edge cases in the real world, because as humans, we can't even create that. We can't even think of it. So it's anything can learn from something that humans developed, right? But when you get into the real world, right, it's not something you can just create, because the real world is infinite on the amount of edge cases. So when I see this, yes, I get it. I agree with Ferguson, Bradford, that we should be aware of what's going on out there in the competition. But I think by now it should be clear that all you need are cameras and FSD computer and neural nets. That's all that's needed. I mean, I'll let you give your opinion, Herbert, on where you think it is. I'm pretty sure you also have the same version of FSD. I'm having absolutely amazing experience, and I'm in Florida and you're in California. So it just seems obvious to me that this is the right way. It's the cost-effective way. It's the scalable way, and it's the way this is going to go. And I may have Tesla covered goggles on right now, and I may be proven foolish in the long run, but I don't think I will be.
You have Tesla goggles on, and so do I. But I agree with you. So
yeah, but we're aware that we have Tesla goggles on, which allows us to be aware of our inherent bias, so we can study to prevent that being a downfall.
So let's see. So first of all, LiDAR started first many years ago, 12 plus years ago. And at that time, they did not know that you can use vision only to recognize and to be able to make decisions on the road. And then since then, there was an explosion of LiDAR companies. In the last several years, 25 LiDAR companies have failed and gone bankrupt, and they've consolidated. Many CEOs of previous LiDAR companies, after they've left and started their new venture, they have publicly stated that vision only is the right path to go. It's just that once you've invested in a company and this technology, and they did it too early, they couldn't reverse. So my opinion is, yes, you can see these Chinese car companies out there and many other car companies, they're doing very, very well, and they're able to drive very well. So you should not discount them, because they are definitely going to be able to do robotaxi in a city environment, in a very controlled environment. In this video, for example, it's just a few turns. It was really from one section to another section. It's not something that it's going to be geofenced. They move very slowly. So when you really dig down to it, it's not this general solution that can solve a robotaxi for any part of the world and drive just like humans do. So they're going to be successful. They'll be out there. But the second thing is they're just not scalable. So even if they are out there, let's say that they have 10,000 cars, that won't be competitive to a company like a Tesla that's can have millions and millions and millions of cars, because they have a factory. They're able to produce all this. You can't just take these LiDAR equipment and then partner with NIO and partner with BYD and all of a sudden outfit millions of their cars. It just doesn't make sense. Now, even if they do that, there's this thing where I think the first to market and the one that can scale the fastest will win most. And so they will still have a business and they'll still be competitors. It's just that it's not necessarily an issue. And then the other concern, the thing to think about is that it doesn't matter how many competitors come out there. The market is so massive. You're not going to come into this competitive environment and be affected by it at all for 5 to 10 years from now. There's just so big of a market at this point that it's not a really big deal. This next one, though, this next story is very important, and I wanted to just introduce it to folks because it's something very important for us to really dive deep as a Tesla investor. So this is this idea that this new paper written by Wave.ai, they're a real deal company. They are invested by Microsoft and Bill Gates, and other very important tech folks have invested in them, and they have started doing robotaxi purely using AI, and they're making some waves. And so now they've written a paper saying that they can do generative AI that can possibly be able to do this. And this generative world model is very similar to ChatGPT, right? And very similar to what Tesla's announced with version 12, where they're taking kind of this idea that just the vision only can actually determine what is like not only just simulation, but they can replicate a world model. They can show you what the world could look like, just like ChatGPT can tell you what the next sentence is. They can tell you what you're seeing, but it's generated, not visual. But even when you look at it, you cannot tell the difference between what you're seeing that has been generated by this computer as opposed to it being just another video that they've rematched together. So it's a world model that leverages video, text, and action inputs to generate realistic driving scenarios. And, it's really learning what the world is like. So Meta Chief AI is one of the investors in Wave. So that's a big deal. They collect huge amounts of driving videos, and then they use the generative AI to create new data sets of videos to train the cars. The videos created by Wave are so realistic, it's pretty much impossible to figure out if they're real or created using generative AI. And they have trained it on 4,700 hours of driving data. So that's kind of the knock on this, is that it's not enough to really be able to hit all the edge cases, but it's something to be able to show you the videos. And so, so let's take a look at a video, what this is creating for you.
Sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out.
How's it there? So what we're looking at, believe it or not, everything you saw there was not video. This is not something that, it just looks like it's video, right? It's not. This is generated by this computer system from previous videos that it was able to ingest. And then you see all those different scenarios, nighttime, fog, twilight. They were able to just ask it to generate that, and then all of a sudden it has that. And so they have enough here to be able to train a car to do things with it. Let me show yet another video here. Again, everything you're seeing here. And then this is an example of a car reversing in the back there. This car was in front of it and it's reversing, and they have two different versions of that. So they can kind of like say, hey, show me this one scenario where the car has to go around it because it's backward, and another one where it's going forward. And then so they can easily, they're saying that they can train it. I know you're not the expert in this space. I'm not either, but what's your just high level view of what you saw here?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's great, right? Great what they're doing and all that. But I would say as it relates to Tesla, because, we're talking about Tesla here, to me, this is not a big deal at all. This is nothing bigger, a burger. I think back when Karpathy was still with Tesla, they showed similar capabilities. It might have been after he left. It might have been a shock that showed us, but they've been able to show how they can essentially take real world data and put a simulation layer over it to create different types of scenarios, right? And they've shown us how, very similar to what you just saw there, how they can have nighttime, it can have slick roads, right, et cetera. So yeah, this is great. But I think in the article, there's a little bit of hyperbole, at least maybe from a Tesla lens, because when they say they have like a huge amount of driving data and they talk about all these parameters, 9 billion, et cetera, they don't exactly compare that to anything. So you don't know if it is a lot or not. I would also say that the big difference is that with something like this, they're again trying to use a crutch, no different than what LiDAR is, for the fact that they can't get a true amount of vast amounts of data, right? And the reason they can't is because they don't have the infrastructure or the fleet out there to do this. And so when I see this, I see it biasing more towards synthetic data, right? So towards simulation. And I think at that point, you still reach local maximums. And again, I don't know much about the company, so I am speaking a lot out of ignorance, but I do know that they aren't widely out there. And until you get out there widely and test this across, hundreds of thousands of vehicles, you don't really know that you're hitting a local maximum, right? You could see slow, steady progress for a long time before you realize that, okay, well, no, I need to tweak this, I need to tweak that. So that's, again, kudos for doing this, but this is something that Tesla's already been doing. Tesla's way past this, in my opinion. And the bigger thing with all of this is that, I guess going back to what you were saying before, I don't think any of these companies are going to last, because it's going to be impossible to do any of this at scale, especially when you're not doing it. You're not going to be able to take a prototype and think that you can just build that at scale and it's just going to work, right? It's as you grow and as you get more cases and more volume and more cars out there, you start to hit across different issues that you're having. And at that point, you have to rethink about what you're doing. You have to rewrite things. You have to take new approaches. And with these companies, yeah, great. They have a proof of concept, a prototype. And yeah, it's working here. Look what we can do here and there. That's cool. But once you start opening up the aperture, you start to really understand the scope of the problem. And so this is why I believe once Tesla does go live, officially drops the beta moniker, it's over, because nobody's going to be able to go to scale. Even if you do have a Waymo, a Cruise, these Chinese companies, Tesla's going to be able to undercut them because they'll have the cost advantage. And at that point, it's just very simple, right? I'm not going to choose to take a $50 Uber to go to the airport when I could take a $5 Tesla Robotaxi. Like it'll be over, right? Even if there is a Cruise or Waymo, right? I saw Omar had a video the other day where it cost them more to take a Waymo than it did an Uber, right? That's insane. So scale matters. Having the right approach and architecture and solution for scale is paramount. It's arguably more important than actually solving the problem. Because if you don't solve the problem to also be able to scale, to bring it out at scale, it's pointless. You just have a prototype at that point. So again, kudos to them. I'm sure they're doing a lot of great work, I'm sure. And a lot of people were hard at that. I'm not trying to, put anyone down. I'm just trying to have a point of view so that people don't go down certain dead ends and all of a sudden like, oh, I thought this was going to be the next Tesla. Oh, I thought this was going to be the next Tesla, right? We haven't even seen the next Apple out there yet. So, just a lot of good stuff happening out there. A lot of these are research projects.
I think that this technology is real. I think it works, but like you say, it's kind of more of a demonstration that succeeds. What matters is the business model and how they actually roll it out to customers. We've already said this earlier, which is robotaxi is going to be such a massive market that it doesn't matter almost. But I did ask James Dalma about this paper. I think we need to dive deep into it because I think it's real. I think it's a real deal, but they only did it with 4,700 hours of video. And this video is very unlikely to have been curated. The actual video that shows that it actually was the good kind of driving that you want to teach a car to do, which is what Tesla is able to do. They have 155,000 hours of video, curated video, because they took that from millions and millions of hours of actual video, and then they had the ability to pick it. So they only wanted to teach the system how great drivers drive. Elon talks about it as an Uber 5-star driver, the best driver you can have, and feed that information. What they were able to show here is this ability to create a world model using just video in and then generate information out. Great for simulation, great for teaching, and it'll be able to succeed, but it won't. They're just not enough data. So if you believe that you need this much data to be able to solve all the edge cases for all the world, great. But if you think that you can just do it for a certain spot, then this will work. It will work. Okay, thank you so much. Great introduction. These are two topics: the LiDAR companies in China, the generative AI here from Wave.ai. We need to stay close looking at them, and they look like they're making progress, but it does look like Tesla's still further ahead, and then we'll see what happens with the business model and the technology and the prices, as you've mentioned. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Please follow him on X at Nick Gibbs IAG. And then he has a great YouTube channel called Investing Against the Grain. He tracks the stock market, talks Tesla a lot, and the economy as well. Thanks, Nicholas. Appreciate you.
Cheers.
If you can, please consider supporting this channel. You can get for free 3 milestone tables that list every major milestone Tesla's ever had since 2003. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.